Hey y'all, what's happening? Let's get it crackin' on Sideway Media. Hey y'all, what's happening? Let's get it crackin'. Sideway Media. Sideway Media. Sideway Media.
Hey, what's up, guys? We're back. This is episode 3, and we have a new guest here today. We weren't able to have Julia back, but we're going to just keep everything going. My friend Kiki is here.
Hello, hello.
Introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you for having me. My name is Kiki Magnuson. I am a holistic nutritionist. My company is called Living Well with Kiki. So what I do is I specialize in working one-on-one with individuals to help them understand food is medicine and to not think that they have to be on a restricted diet to achieve the goals that they want to achieve.
That's good to hear.
Yes.
First, before we get started, I wanted to go over a little bit of how we met.
Yeah.
And then I know you've come long distance from when I met you. You switched fields?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. Okay. So we met at Innovative Strength and Conditioning off of Broadway, downtown?
Yeah, 5th and Broadway.
Yeah, okay. So back then I was renting space, didn't own my gym, and we were subletting, and we were kind of just doing our own thing in a big atmosphere.
That's correct. Back in, 2019? Before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So had to be 2018, 2019.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, I think I just started at the end of 2018, early 2019. Back then I was still working in the fitness industry myself.
Yeah.
I do have a kinesiology background, and I thought that was going to be my career of choice long term. I had been offered to be a gym owner at one point prior to that too. Actually decided not to take that leap of faith because I wanted to move to Sacramento. This is before I was in Santa Rosa. And so when I started working with T, I knew that I wanted to continue evolving in the fitness industry. And I had talked to him about potentially doing something. But then I started seeing more and more of a desire of people wanting the nutrition aspect of alongside of the fitness.
Yeah.
And that's when it kind of shifted gears for me, because that was something that I thought I wasn't excelling at. Because people would come to me and be like, hey, I'm working out X, Y, and Z, but what should I do in my food intake? Trainers get that question asked
Absolutely.
all the time. And so it was through those consistent questions, and even for me, my performance, I wanted to improve it, that I decided to completely shift gears and get into the nutrition space.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I get tons of questions about nutrition too. All I could go off of is what's worked for me.
Right.
It's crazy that you just shifted gears and direction.
I think I started back in 2012. So a little backstory. As a personal trainer at 24 Hour Fitness right out of college. A lot of people end up, that's kind of like your go-to. That's how you start.
I'm not going to end here, but I'm starting here. Exactly.
Get your feet in, start to understand what the industry is kind of like. That's when I learned that I thought I wasn't going to work with athletes. I thought, when you get out of college, you're like, okay, I'm going to train athletes or be a strength and conditioning coach. And then you work at 24 Hour Fitness and you start working with your average, person, which is fine.
General pop.
Yeah, which are great. Love them. But you learn early on, that's the kind of your, clientele.
That'll be where the money's at.
Correct. But yeah, it was I did that. Then I got into instructing. I did yoga to spin. then shifted in a strength and conditioning gym, and that's the one that I was just sharing with you. Me and my husband now, we were dating at the time. We actually worked together at that gym.
I remember that time frame.
Yeah. And then that's when we decided to move. We were living in Santa Rosa. We decided to move to Sacramento, and that's when I then worked with Trino.
Yeah. Oh, so you guys came to Innovative together?
Yeah.
I thought you guys met there.
No,
Okay.
we moved to Sacramento together.
Huh. Well, learn something new every day.
Yeah.
What was that transition like? You mentioned something about going in thinking you're going to train athletes, then figured out the whole general population idea that's where 80% of the people are at, and only 5 to 10% are actually able to get you somewhere in athletics?
Right.
Yeah. Other than training kids, that you also have to have the tough conversation that this might not actually be for you.
Yeah.
So what was that whole transition like?
For me, it was a gradual transition. So when I moved to Sacramento in 2016, I worked for a company called MetaFast, which is kind of like a weight controls company, very similar to your Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig, in a sense that we were counselors in helping people understand a specific diet plan that they were on. So they were on a specific program, and they would come to us as far as for making sure that they comply. We helped them maneuver if they had any challenges and how to problem solve.
Yeah.
And that was kind of an introductory job for me, because you only needed a kinesiology background at the time. So that company evolved. It became an MLM, and it became online. It's what's known as Optavia now.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I know a couple of people that are doing that.
Yeah, and then I transitioned to a health coach. So I went from being, in the fitness industry as a strength and conditioning coach, personal trainer. Then I shifted over into becoming a health coach. And that's when I started learning that people actually had questions around nutrition more. Because I can guide them just briefly. I could tell them, eat more vegetables, or watch your carbs, or eat more protein. But you can't necessarily prescribe without a kinesiology without a nutrition degree.
That'd be getting out of your lane.
Yeah, out of your scope. So that's when I decided that, because I kept getting those questions, I had a family friend actually reach out to me, and they were like, I'm diagnosed with prediabetes. I need to know what I need to change in order to improve my blood sugars and be healthy. I was like, oh, you can do this program. They're like, no, I want to hire you. I want you to teach me how to eat. And I was like, okay, well, let's make sure this is done legally and correctly first.
Yeah. Yep.
So then I went back to school and got another, because I have 2 masters, one in kinesiology and my other one is in clinical nutrition from Sonoran University. And so during that program, it's what really laid huge foundation. I thought I knew nutrition. Oh no, when you go back to school, you learn everything about nutrition, and it's really helped me feel more that practitioner where I can guide clients now and really tell them what to do. And I read labs. I can run over blood work. I can do supplementation. So there's a lot more to my practice now that I could do way more than I couldn't have if I didn't go back to school.
Yeah. I can understand. I've seen a lot of people start some amazing groups out of Optavia. I forget the other one with the 24. It was like what? Herbalife, but then they switched over to something else, and it was like a fit group something. And I remember seeing them have like 40 to 50 people. Mm-hmm. I'm like, they're giving supplements out and they're getting people involved. But I was always questioning exactly the knowledge of the people that were behind it.
To say, I don't appreciate health coaches, because I think that's just like a tier down to those who can't do the investment. Going back to school is expensive, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But if you are a person that really, I love it, I'm sure you're the same way, you start to eat, breathe, be in it, you're in the trenches with your clients all day. And once I learned that I had that desire, I thought I did in the fitness industry. And once I started meeting clients one-on-one with nutrition, that light just hit. And I was like, oh, this is my calling. It clicked. Yeah. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to go back and really be a professional in this like field. But health coaches, I would say, are helpful in the sense that they help guide people just for habits. You know, if someone who can't afford a nutritionist or can't afford, you know, these programs, not, you know, they cost money. This could be a healthy alternative for you as far as figuring healthy ways for you to improve your health. But, you know, there comes a point to where if disease is involved or people's like, you know, if it's chronic or something that really needs a deeper dive, then definitely getting medical help would be my message here is like you can only go so far as a health coach.
True. Yep. And as a trainer.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can only go so far.
That's true.
I could get behind that because I've seen a lot of my clients over the years make leaps and bounds in 3 months working with other professionals compared to just working with me, where it might take someone who's only trying to do it in the gym, not doing it at home, which would be working with a nutritionist, and like the 23 hours away from the gym. Chiropractor, massage therapist, seeing like the way those other specialists help people just jump the type of progress versus just doing it in the gym.
Oh, yeah.
Not eating right, not going, even just going to your doctor and like getting your lab work.
Yeah. You highlighting that, I do want to emphasize that. I tell my clients this all the time. We need to have a, I call it like my health team. And it's not just the nutritionist. You have to have the personal trainer or a gym that you go to, chiropractor, massage therapist, acupuncturist if needed, even a holistic doctor if it comes to that point. But I think that people find one of those professionals and then they think that one person can be
I'll be good.
Yeah, or you got all good, or like, hey, you help me in all the other areas that I need. And it's like, I'm sorry, but I'm a professional in this one lane. And it's important to have all of them because we can't all go to school for all the things, right?
Yeah, that was like, that kind of touches on something that I was thinking about. Like, what was that like? I know you touched on a little bit, like going as far as you did as a trainer and a health coach, but then kind of like taking a step back, going to school, getting all the extra knowledge. Did you struggle with the shift?
Not really, because the way I did it is that I did it ethically, but then I also did in a sense that my clients never knew. So for example, if I had a client that was like, hey, like before I became a nutritionist and I was still kind of in the health coach space, they'd be like, hey, can you write me a meal plan? It was like, you need to make sure that you're having 4 servings of vegetables every day. I was very vague. And I would specifically tell them like, hey, the reason why I'm doing this is because I don't have the credentials yet. Or I would tell them like, hey, just so you know, if I was to tell you exactly what to eat, you probably hate it. So there's certain language that I used in the sense that way as I pivoted and evolved my program, like the person that met me, like a client that met me back when I was still at Innovative Strength, I was starting that transition. I had gotten a few clients. It was very vague compared to the client. Like if that client now was to come back and work with me, they'd be like, whoa, Kiki, you've changed dramatically. I'm like, yeah, because obviously with my education, it's changed. My knowledge has changed. Yeah. So the way I practice is different.
And you see a change in the like results in your clients. I'm more interested in like a time frame basis, the way you were doing it before compared to
like
after.
How long it took?
Yeah, like quicker results, because right, everyone wants a immediate result.
So wait, so are you asking like, do clients see faster results now that I have more education?
Yes, now, but also I know that there are like clients that are there for you before and after. For example, say you have a client that you've been working with for 3 years.
Okay.
And you're trying to get them over a specific goal, and then maybe you're able to pinpoint something that you could have done better before, or like something like that. Because I've had a handful of clients. Sometimes it's when I refer them to someone else and then more information comes to my attention. It's just more like networking. I know you went and like did the deep work just to make sure you were doing it ethically. I understand that. When I started, I was training people for money before I was a trainer.
Yeah.
And then when I went into a big box gym, I cut most of my clients. I'm like, I want to do this legit. I want you to pay me through the gym.
Yeah.
So I can relate to the transition from a different perspective, but I'm just interested in the results.
Yeah. I think the way I did it back then was so simple that, yes, if you just improve your eating habits, you'll feel better, you'll lose weight. It's kind of a no-brainer. Nutrition isn't that complicated. Yeah. However, I feel like I am now shifting to not just the weight loss, but improving people's health internally that I never did before in the past. So meaning like improving their blood sugar levels, if they're have, diabetes that runs in their family, or if they have any medical conditions like hypertension, or high cholesterol. Those are things I never tapped into. Whereas now I'm looking at those labs because I want to improve. And I believe that if you're internally healthy, then it'll start to resonate outside. Maybe at the start I was kind of like spitting things, throwing things at the wall, hoping it sticks.
Oh.
And some clients it worked well. And some clients it kind of like we would hit a dead end. And then I would be like, I don't know what to do from here because I had no other answers, whereas now I continue to problem solve. If I notice that if a client's really struggling with their weight loss, but they do everything correct, that's where I start to refer out. So I'd be like, maybe your hormones are off. Maybe we should see an acupuncturist, or, maybe you should see, like I have a chiropractor that focuses a lot on gut healing, and he looks at your stomach acid and makes sure that you're digesting food properly. So now I do that more, whereas the beginning and that's all the thing too. When you start off, you're like, you want all your clients.
Yeah. But you might not be able to help them everywhere.
Yeah. But we want to at the beginning.
Just you bringing that up, like a chiropractor that deals in gut health, in my opinion, to like some people, it might even get more complicated because there's all these other specialists that they don't all cover the whole piece of the pie from that specific realm. Because I know there's different types of massage therapists. You brought up a holistic healer, chiropractor. I've never done acupuncture, so it's just blows some people's minds.
I've done it before. Yeah. It's very fascinating.
Okay, well, I'm up for that. But now I'm going to get to Christina's questions from the last episode. The first one is, how would you describe your approach to nutrition?
So that's very broad. My approach to nutrition is that food is nature's pharmacy. It's, it's what we need in order to survive and to thrive and be optimal in our health. So if you see food as something that's blessing your body and something that is going to let you be the best physical, mental person that you can be, then that's how I see nutrition is.
Yep. I could get behind that. What are some common nutrition myths that you would love to disappear?
Oh, I like that. So my number one is that eggs affect cholesterol. That is a complete myth. There is no correlation to your egg yolk to the cholesterol within your blood. What most people don't understand is that cholesterol is actually correlated with your stress. So if you're highly stressed, you're most likely to have high cortisol levels that lead to high cholesterol levels. So there's a lot of correlation there. But yeah, people be like, oh yeah, I have high cholesterol, so I need to stop eating eggs. And then I find out later that they're using vegetable oil in their cooking. They're eating out a lot. So there are other factors. I'm like, nope, it's not the eggs. So, debunk
that's
that.
easy to remember too. Cortisol and cholesterol kind of rhyme.
Yeah. Another myth is all calories are created equal. So
a calorie is a calorie.
Yeah, right? So it's like, oh, if it's 100 calories, it's fine, right? People think that all the time. I used to think that. I would look at a box of whatever, let's say popcorn, and I'd read the back and it says 100 calories. I'm like, sweet, I get to eat the whole thing. Little did I know it's had 4 servings in that bag. So if I ate the whole thing, 100 times 4 is now 400. And then I didn't even know what it's made out of. Like, what's the carbohydrates? What's the fats? What's the protein? How much fiber? How much sugar?
Yeah.
And so
You got to do your work. Check it
yeah,
all
people
out.
think that like they just look at the big calorie when in reality, 100, let's go back to that 400 calorie bag of popcorn compared to 400 calories of vegetables, chicken, some avocado, some healthy fats. If they're the same in calories, they're still very completely different in nutrient content and their
Yes.
value. And so
I know that much.
yeah. So knowing that if you're a person that likes to macro count, that's one form of, a style of eating. Just be careful because some people will be like, oh, it fits in my macros. And they think that it's just all numbers when calories, again, aren't created equal. So it may work for you for a little bit, but who knows? But, again, every human being is very unique and different. You find what works for you. So like, that's the other thing. There's no diet. The myth is like, what's the best diet? There is no best diet.
Yeah.
The best diet is the one that you can actually follow and stick to for the rest of your life. This is a forever game. So when I tell people when you're working with me, this is a lifestyle. This is like,
Yeah.
we're going to be together for a long time.
Yeah.
Same thing with fitness, right?
Absolutely.
Like when you come to a gym, you don't come in just to like, oh, I'm here to like lose 50, like for example, 50 pounds. And then they get there and then they're like, okay, bye.
Now
like,
what do I do?
Yeah. Like it should be about the journey. It should not only about like, oh, get me stronger. But like, I love it when, especially like women, like that was part of my fitness journey was like, I wanted to be able to do a pull up. Then I was able to do it. And then I was like, okay, let's do 2. Now let's do 5. Now I'm working on strict pull-ups, like the level.
No kipping.
Yeah, exactly.
No assist.
No assist, exactly. Yeah. Like you always want to be growing in that. It's like brushing your teeth. We got to brush our teeth to stay healthy and have good teeth and not have them fall out.
Yeah.
So it's like the repetition. We got to do the reps in order to, build that strength. And same thing with nutrition. You kind of have to keep doing the reps there and eat well 80% of the time. Yeah. And so that's where with the diet aspect of it is that if you try to think that you're going to do keto just because you want to lose the weight, but then you'll go back to your old ways afterwards, you've lost already.
Yeah.
So that's one. What more? I can give you couple more. What's other myths out there?
You got a notebook full of them, don't you?
I should. It's, another one is that, people think that, I've heard that people think that specifically what they eat can impact, or when it comes to your gut health, people think that that exercise has no correlation to gut health, when in reality there is, that if you're overtraining, it can affect your gut health. So that was one that.
One of my clients' daughter is going through that right now. She trains 3 to 4 times a day sometimes.
Yeah.
It'd be extreme.
Yeah. So people like the no day, like people that are afraid of like no days off. They're afraid to take days off. Actually, it'll hurt you more than actually benefit you in the long run.
Yeah.
So that was a hard pill to swallow for me. I used to be like a 7-day, like I have to work out all the time. I'm going to lose my gains. Mm-hmm. But then when I noticed I actually took rest days on purpose, I actually got better.
Yeah.
And the aches and pains went away.
I definitely was afraid of missing days when I was in my 20s. But then after a certain point, I started realizing that you almost bounce back better after taking some time off, especially if you've been consistent, say for a year, 3 years, and you take a month off, you don't lose what you think you're going to lose. Obviously, if you are still active to some degree, going on a walk, walking your dog, not going on crazy food sprees like during the holidays. I just see people fall off and they put on pounds. Like, it's if you take that time off, one of my clients right now, his name's Jay. Every time he takes a week off, he comes back better, more trimmed, more tapered, shows up with a different energy in the gym, and it's something that I've been able to see through other people too. So it's really cool to see.
Yeah,
which is something that I used to be against. Like taking days off, I totally fell into that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you with that. And I was right there in my 20s. I was the same. I was a college and, or I was a athlete in college as well, all through high school. That when you're that young, you train all the time anyways, because I had multiple sports that I was competing in. One rolled into the other. So, of course, there was very little to no time off. But then as you get older and your body slows down a little bit, recovery is hugely important. So that's another key piece that I actually tell my clients too, is like, you got to honor that rest and recovery. You can't just be all go, go, go and think that
Listen
you're
to
going
your body.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll definitely give you some pointers. Okay. How do you suggest people fuel and recover from their workouts? Does this vary by age, gender, type of workout?
Absolutely. So all of the above. So when a person is starting to exercise, they first, obviously you need to figure out what is the exercise. Is it weightlifting? Is it more cardio based? Are you running? Are you swimming, biking? Are you doing CrossFit? Are you doing just strength and conditioning? I do Olympic weightlifting. So there's different variables in the type of sport. So the type of nutrition is going to adjust for that, as well as age, as well as sex. So men versus women, there's a little bit of difference there too. But I'm a huge believer that nutrition and fitness go hand in hand. And if someone's really trying to improve their performance in the gym, they have to align their nutrition and vice versa. And I'm trying to match that mentality to my clients, those that do come to me outside of a gym. If they're not a member of a gym, that I'm trying to like plant that seed and be like, hey, eventually you're going to have to get into the gym and start exercising at some point. It's important for your health and your body and everything, your hormones. But yeah, so like that's kind of the general piece as far. I mean, there's certain things that people can do in general. Essentially, you want to make sure that you're eating some sort of carbohydrate, protein, and fat post-workout, depending on the severity of the exercise. But the carb is essentially to replenish the glucose. The protein and the healthy fats are to help rebuild and recharge the muscles and to give you that energy that's a little bit more sustained. Because some people will just go straight to something maybe carby right after a workout because they're just immediately hungry. But it's really important to do it properly. That way you're recovering the way that you want.
Majority of my career, I had no idea what I was doing. But when I became a trainer, it was clear that was the one portion that I failed on was nutrition. You could do like great at everything else, and then when you're young, it doesn't show up as much. But the older you get, the more you need to learn.
Oh yes, I was
dial it in.
Guilty. I exercised a bad diet. 110%. Like I saw commercials. This is back, oh my gosh, at least 20 years ago. They were like, I don't know who it was, but they're like, you are what you eat. And this guy's like walking around with like a donut and there's people like shaped of different foods. And I was like looking at that commercial thinking like, you are what you eat. Pff, that's not me. But then I would walk to a basketball game with like Jamba Juice in my hand and stuff like that, that I was like, wow, I got away with that when I was younger, but definitely not when I got older.
Nope. That stuff catches up to you.
Yes, it does.
I was telling my clients that you're only going to spend like 1 to 7 hours in the gym a week, right? So for every day, there's 24 hours. So you see me for 1 hour. There's 23 other hours in the day that you can kind of mess up everything we're working on.
Yes.
So I think what you do away from the gym is more important because the amount of time you spend away from the gym compared to in the gym. So then that's what got my brain to switch from focusing more hardcore on what I'm doing in the gym compared to out, what I'm putting in my mouth.
Yeah.
Counting those calories, switching from all calories are equal, and then just like, having to start from square one, change my beliefs. So I do commend you on switching all that. And I know a lot of trainers don't want to do that.
Yeah, and for me, it's like I'm a person that practices what I preach. I'm a huge proponent of that, being that person. I'm never going to be a practitioner that tells people like, hey, you know what, you should eat well and make sure to drink your water. And then I'm over here drinking like diet soda and I'm sitting on the couch. Like, unfortunately, I see that a lot in clinical practice. Because what I didn't share with you actually is that I actually now work 2 days a week in a private practice, working in a clinical facility. So I'm working closely with doctors with a lot of patients that do have type 2 diabetes, that are chronically sick, that have all sorts of, they're on medications for a ton of stuff. I've had the other day a patient come in and I looked at the patient's chart and I looked at that person. They were younger than my father and they looked 10 times older. It just blows my mind how old people can get, how quickly, if they don't actually work on their habits. And those are, that to me, seeing those type of people, which breaks my heart. Yeah. But I'm like, they're my motivation to not be in the future. I'm like, I'm going to work even harder to make sure my future is not that path. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that we have full control of that people don't realize, is that they have this mindset of like, oh, as you get older, your body's going to start to hurt and things are going to like slow down. Like, yes, things may ache, things may start to hurt a little bit and might slow down, but I like to think of it, I'm aging well as best as I can. Like, I told myself I'll never be in a wheelchair. I'll still be deadlifting and squatting at the age of 90, maybe 100.
Yeah.
You know, like I'll still do my 80% of, you know, enjoying healthy foods. Maybe that 20% is like that glass of wine, you know, a couple nights a week or whatever.
Yeah.
But I've
seen people at that age doing exactly what you're talking about.
It's habits. It's 100% habits. And if you have that, you can have such a healthy, vibrant life. Yeah. And if you decide to just be like, it's not worth it for me, then of course that's where I'm seeing a lot of people being in wheelchairs and, you know, their life gets cut short.
Yeah. Yep. Some of them just start working out and getting their nutrition together, like when they're retiring and they don't have enough time to enjoy their actual retirement.
Bringing that up, I've heard that too. Some people have talked about this. I've heard this from podcasts and stuff where they're like, you as a society, we're putting the investment for our financial future, right? To like retire and be able to like travel and do whatnot. But there's people that put that retirement thinking that they're going to use it for that. Now they're using it for medical bills.
Yep.
They're not enjoying their retired years because they decided to not be good about their health.
Yeah. And it was never a priority. That's a conversation I had with one of my clients recently, and it's always cool to see what you can still do to impact them, because it's not going to be morbid for everyone. Some people it'll still completely turn around.
Yeah.
And that's what excites me as a trainer. If I'm not training an athlete, that's the type of shit that inspires me, keeps me motivated, keeps me showing up, finds the spark within myself again, is to see the results that it could have in someone else.
And I can see it in you too. Like you truly believe in what you do, which is great. And like you walk the walk too. So just, it's hard as far as in our medical field here, that like I work with doctors that are overweight, don't really, they're not doing at all what they tell their patients do. And so the medical side of things, I feel like is a little broken. I wish we had more people that actually did what they're teaching their patients, where I feel like a lot of gym owners and even myself as a nutritionist, a lot of us are stepping into those shoes, which is powerful stuff, because people are looking at us. They want to see us as, the leader, the motivator to help, when they're not feeling good and they don't want to do it.
Well, it's awesome to hear that you're that close to working with doctors now, knowing that all the different steps you've went through to get there. Mm-hmm. So you can see the world from multiple different views now.
Yes. Yeah.
Pretty cool. I'm proud of you and happy to see how far you've come.
Thank you.
Okay, so we got another one. What are the 3 to 5 top nutrition tips you think everyone should know?
Oh, that's a great one. Okay, so 3 to 5 tips, nutrition tips all people should know. Okay, number 1, everyone should be eating 100 grams of protein or more. Protein has no issues on the body, kidneys, organs, unless you have kidney disease, and that's just like a whole other conversation that we can have later on. But those that are listening, if you're like, what can I eat protein? Yes, 110% up your protein today. Because that's just going to make you more satiated. It's going to help with your blood sugars, helps with hormones, helps with muscle rebuilding. It just has so much benefit in totality that could be a huge factor and a game changer. I noticed that in my diet, once I started improving my protein, my hair got longer, my nails got stronger, I felt stronger. So there's a lot of benefits.
You guys heard that.
Yeah. So that's number one. The second one is that it is a hype, but vegetables needs to be a thing in everybody's life. We should be eating at least 4 servings of vegetables a day, if not more, which means a half a cup cooked or 1 cup raw. We don't eat enough vegetables as a society. That's why Game Changers and a bunch of those Netflix documentaries became such a big hit, because once athletes or individuals just changed their diet and improving their vegetable intake, they saw results. Their stomach got better, they got slimmer, they improved in their performance. So that just goes hand in hand. My third tip is actually not necessarily nutrition, like food related, but water is hugely important. So hydration. Everyone needs to be hydrating. I think that people they think that they're drinking enough until they actually start measuring. And then once they start measuring, they're like, oh shoot, no wonder I was by 3 o'clock feeling like brain fog.
Yeah.
Because I've had coffee and maybe 2 cups of water all day, and their performance decreased. Or like,
so is there a specific amount? Because I've always been thinking that a gallon is what your average person is supposed to drink in a day, and 2 gallons for people that are highly active.
64 ounces is supposed to be like the minimum for an average adult.
Which is more or less than a gallon.
Oh, it's less. It's 128 ounces is a gallon.
Okay, so half of a gallon.
Half of a gallon. But I'm a fan of the your weight divided by half. So if you're just to do math easy, if I'm 100 pounds, if I divide that, that's 50. I should be drinking 50 ounces a day. Okay. So because every person's different, right? So the intake of water needs to be according to that person. Also, if they're active, they speak a lot. So just you and I talking right now, we're releasing water deposits. Mm-hmm. So we're slowly becoming dehydrated.
Yeah.
People don't realize that. So if you're in meetings, you're in a controlled environment or even outside, like we should be drinking more than we realize. So I'm a fan of electrolytes. Yeah, I'm a fan of electrolytes if you need them, but definitely get your weight divided by half, and that should be roughly, like I tried for my weight, it's about 80 or so ounces, but I still strive for the gallon. I still think that that's important, especially us living in Sacramento. It's naturally hotter here in the summer.
Especially recently.
Yeah. And then my other tip, as far as nutrition and health related, because I do feel like nutrition and health kind of go hand in hand in healthy habits, is your sleep. So you can eat well, you can exercise, and have it dialed in. But if your sleep is garbage, you are a unhealthy person, 110%. There's nothing that's going to improve you to excel. You're going to hit a wall and you're just going to start to break down. If you're not recovering through sleep. Sleep is gold. It's like the gold standard. And so if you're a person that's listening, you're like, but I can't, I'm sorry to burst that bubble to you, but figuring out ways to at least get some sort of appropriate amount, it ranges, like science is showing, from 5 to 9 hours of sleep. It just depends. Some people can run off of 5 or 6. Yeah. I'm a person of 7 to 8. 8 is like my ideal, but if I hit 7, then I'm like, today's a good day. Yeah. But if I hit 6, then I'm like, today's a rough day.
Yeah.
I need that coffee. Yeah.
Man.
But there's so much that's involved in sleep, from hormones regulation to recovery, and then you're detoxing everything that the pollination in the air, the pollution, all of that, and even all the things that we learn. So the conversations you've had with people, if you saw something on TV or whatnot, your brain is trying to funnel all that. And so if you're trying to do that with very lack of sleep, the likelihood of you having Alzheimer's and dementia just skyrockets.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah. One thing I learned about sleep is when you're in REM sleep, there's like a fluid that goes through your brain that actually like squeegees all that crud out of your head that builds up during the day. And that's when the mind fog builds up, is when you need more sleep and you feel it. Like, especially now as I'm older, I used to be able to survive off like 5 hours of sleep. And you talked about the range, and now I'm more like a 7 hours a night type of guy. And if I get 6 or 5, I'm feeling it all day long.
Yeah.
And I need to take a nap. And if I don't take that nap, then I'm going to crash like 6 o'clock at night and just be out early.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I definitely did that. Yeah. I mean, that was one thing that the fitness industry, for me at least, was the toughest part. It hindered my sleep so hard because I had to be at the gym before 5 a.m. in the morning to open up for the 5 a.m. class. And we did split shifts. So then I'd like be there in the morning, take the afternoon off, and then had to come back and do the evening. It was just not lucrative for my health. That was the one thing, especially like I loved the community with ISC, like I loved it all. But for my mental health, it was just definitely draining. And at one point I was like, is it worth it? Maybe not. And then as I shifted in nutrition, I was like, actually like this. I can actually see clients at 8 a.m., not 5 in the morning.
Yeah, I do not miss the early mornings, the late nights.
Yeah. Do you offer class at 5?
No, not anymore.
Oh, okay.
Nope. Used to do as early as like 4:30.
Wow.
But no, for like a decade, 20s into my maybe 31, 32, and then I stopped.
Yeah. I mean, I think like kind of like graveyard shifts, I think there should be a rotation of people doing it. When you're younger, like you can do it for like X amount of years and then like graduate them out, and then it's like in the next wave of people.
You no longer have to do graveyard.
Yeah. Yeah, but that takes people like up to 10 years, if not more, off their life if they do that for until they retire. Yeah, that's how impactful sleep is. That if you're not getting enough sleep and quality sleep, then it can really chip off the years for sure.
Yeah, I believe it. Especially now. I used to thought I was invincible.
I think we all did at some point.
What are your favorite protein-rich foods?
Ooh, what are my favorite protein-rich foods? Interesting. I am, with being half Greek, I do love my Greek food. So, it's called moussaka, which is like a how do I describe this? It's like lasagna, but Greek version. So the fact that they put a lot of like ground beef and stuff in there, I would say is like one of my favorites as far as if it's like focusing on protein. Another one would be, I do like my chicken. I'm a big fan of chicken. I was going to say I'm boring.
I'd say chicken.
Yeah.
Chicken, turkey.
Yeah, I like steak. I love like all the meats. I'm not a picky eater, so that's why nutrition kind of fit in. I'm a foodie. Yeah. I'll try anything. I've had alligator before. That's interesting. It's kind of just tender. I've also had rabbit.
Really tender. You'd think that would be like super chewy.
Yeah. Yeah, right? I've had rabbit before, and that tastes just like chicken. Very good. Yeah.
Okay. I've had bison, ostrich.
Yes, I've had bison. Not ostrich.
Crazy as I've gotten.
I do like protein muffins. Like if we like create, I make it at home or buy it from maybe one of those like local stands or something like that, or waffles.
Yeah, I've had protein balls with like oatmeal and mixture of stuff. Those are pretty cool. Bite size. Snack on them.
Yeah, those protein balls. Yeah, I've done those before. I like the protein waffles. I think those are nice to have around.
You could trick your kids into eating them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Those are things that makes it easy. I think trying to think, what else do I like that's protein focused? I mean, you can't go wrong with a smoothie. It just has to be, you have to do it well.
So do you put like protein powder in?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm pretty consistent doing my post-workout protein powder. If it's close to dinner, then it'd just be protein powder and water.
Is all protein powder created equal?
No, that's a good question.
Okay.
So there's specific protein powders designed for specific things. So you have your post-workout protein powder designed for recovery because it'll have your BCAAs, your branched amino acids, and those are helpful for repairing and healing. Whereas our collagen powder is specific to helping with the elasticity of your skin, giving you the protein for your hair, your nails, that sort of stuff. So I actually put that in my coffee first thing in the morning. So women, little hack there, you should put collagen somewhere in your diet to improve that, to help those wrinkles too. That's why there's like collagen creams and stuff now. And then there's also like you've got your plant-based protein, so your pea protein and stuff like that. It just varies. Some of them specifically, like Vega does a good job. They have like a sport, so that one's specifically for exercise, whereas they have their Vega 1, which is like an everyday, and it's fortified with your vitamins and minerals. So like meal replacement powders, there's certain ones will have vitamins and minerals, and those ones I tell people those are like your everyday go-to kind of proteins.
That's good to know. That's great information that I didn't know there was more to it. I just learned about the difference from like hydroslate, isolate, and I forget what the other one
Oh,
was.
yeah, there's so many because then there's also like egg protein. You can have casein, whey, plant-based. And
most
those
people
types,
get lost in the details.
Yeah, I mean, it just varies on what people can digest. Whey is going to be the most absorbable, but it also can be the most robust on a stomach. So not everybody can, like there's just some people that have a sensitivity to that. And so then that's when they'll go to plant-based based off of that. So just like I tell people, same thing with supplements. I rotate your proteins that way in your food. Eating in variety is hugely important to not develop a sensitivity or intolerance essentially. So an example could be like, let's say if you had whey protein, like a specific brand, and you had it every day consistently for decades, one day you can wake up and like try to drink it, and then you'll have a really bad stomach. And now your body's telling you, I don't want that anymore because you've been too consistent.
Yeah.
So it's actually important to kind of rotate.
Rotate your proteins. I've never heard that.
Yeah. But be consistent. That's one of the supplements I tell people that you don't cycle off. You consistently do.
Okay.
Because
just switch the type.
Just switch the type. Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Add that piece because we only absorb so much through our intestine that we extract most of it out. So we need a consistent intake in order to kind of absorb as much as we can from that. But like things like creatine, for example, I cycle on and off on that.
Yeah. Okay, so with creatine, what's the benefit of that? Because I always thought it just helped you retain more water, like water weight, or helps your muscles retain more water.
It does, but then it also helps for recovery with strength building. It's funny that we talk about this right now because I just started back up. I had 2 weeks of that I cycled off of creatine, and those 2 weeks I felt very weak. I did not feel good in my lifts, whereas as of today, I'll be back on and I'll feel like strong again. So if you're doing it for lifting, you'll notice a huge difference in your gains when you're off of it versus when you're on it. But I think it's also one of those things too, you have to be consistent about taking it in order to see those results. I tried taking it as a runner and it did nothing for me. I was like, what? I feel a little bloated. This doesn't feel good. And then I noticed that it was because it's not meant for running. It's meant for lifting. Unless you're a runner and you're lifting, then that's a different story.
Yeah. Cross training.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite fiber-rich foods?
What's my favorite fiber-rich food?
And I'm also thinking iron. It's not on here, but I remember when I was married, my wife became anemic because she didn't have enough iron in her system.
Okay, that's very common for women. Yeah, so I mean, iron-rich foods. Spinach is my go-to for iron because it's the easiest, and it's you can put in smoothies, you can saute it, you can pretty much put it in anywhere. But actually, eating some red meat, a steak, or ground beef, like high quality grass-fed. So this is the thing too. People have this misconception of thinking that if you eat red meat all the time, that it's correlated back to that cholesterol piece. Only that's the case if you're a person that eats red meat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week, for 4 weeks, months, and so on. But if you eat it like 2 to 3 times a week, it's actually really healthy for you and can bring up that iron level as well.
So that would fall into the cycle your proteins.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just red meat.
Yeah, exactly. Have the chicken, I tell all my clients, eat as much a variety in your proteins as much as possible. Like me and my husband, we do chicken one day, we do turkey the other day, we'll do ground beef, ground sausage, salmon. So we try to add that variety because that's where you're going to get different nutrient values from those different types of proteins too.
Not just the veggies.
Yeah. So going back to your, what are my favorite high fiber rich foods? Yep. I'm just this might be biased, but I am a big veggie fan. Like I love my vegetables, and my husband can attest to that. He's definitely seen me evolve my eating habits from when we started dating to today, like going back to that, being the practitioner that practices what I preach. Yeah. I used to be, because even in college, I still remember that I would have a salad always with dinner, but it would be like oatmeal or cereal for breakfast, a sandwich at lunch. So I never really saw much of vegetables in my diet at all. And so when I made that transition, I noticed that my cravings went away. I felt more satiated. I had more energy. I used to think I had a sugar addiction because I was just constantly craving it. And the more I stuck with eating colorful vegetables, it kind of now I can have cookies in front of me. I'm pretty strong, but then there's a moment of weakness.
Yeah.
Eventually I'll be like, gotta have it.
Holidays are the worst because people just shove them in your face and feel rude, like turning it down.
But I love all of them. I'm a big fan of summertime vegetables, your cucumbers, tomatoes. I love a good salad in the summer. The other day I did a Thai infused kale salad with Napa cabbage and carrots, tons of color, and I'm gonna kick with a peanut sauce, which is made out of peanut butter.
Yeah, homemade dressing.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then the winter time, I'm a big fan. I'm more of into temperatures based off of the environment. So colder stuff in the summer, warmer stuff in the wintertime. I like my soups and my stews.
Not just your clothes, but your food too.
Yeah.
So when you start putting the long sleeves on, you switch up what you're eating.
Yeah. I do overnight oats for breakfast. I like that for the summer because it stays nice and cold. Or I'll do more omelets and egg bites for wintertime, depending on what I have time for.
Yeah, that's good to know. I never thought about switching it up as the seasons go by.
That's kind of how we used to do it. So if you kind of go back in the day, hunters and gatherers, we ate seasonally based off of what was, in season. We also hunted and gathered things that were in season. And so we kind of went with the season, whereas now we have everything at our disposal and it's almost too easy to get the same thing over and over again. So that's where I tell people you got to switch it up.
Yeah.
Look at you can easily Google what's in the season of this month. And then you can see those certain fruits or vegetables or and you're like, oh, let me go for that.
Probably even ask Alexa.
Absolutely. And if you're looking, and those are the ones that are going to be cheaper. That's another thing too. People tell me all the time is that they're like, oh, being healthy is so expensive. It's so, in order for me to eat healthier, I have to spend more money. that is true in a sense, but if you try to eat more seasonally and locally, like, don't get your avocados from Mexico, then you're probably going to find the cheaper stuff that might save you some money.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's good. I'm not going to get through all these questions, but I know the big topic that came up at the end of the last episode was premenopause and menopause. I don't know a whole lot about that. I've had a couple clients that have asked me questions, and I was just stumped because I have no idea how to answer that. I've asked a bunch of different people. I've even figured out some of the best trainers I know don't have an answer. So I was really interested in that, and I know a bunch of my lady clients are as well.
So as far as what around premenopausal?
Let's go working out and nutrition.
Okay, so yeah, so actually what a lot of women don't know is that we should be preparing our bodies for menopause. And so that menopausal state is a really great optimal time to weight train more. So women need to improve on their fitness, get away from hours of cardio that's doing the opposite for you. It's increasing your cortisol level, so you're stressing yourself out more. Versus having more muscle, you actually regulate your hormones better. So because with menopause or estrogen and progesterone, which is two hormones that women have, they kind of like have this dance. They're starting to dip, and they're starting to dip really low. And so that's where weight gain happens, and that's where other women can experience other factors like their blood pressure might start to elevate, or their cholesterol numbers start to get out of whack. Because there's a harmony piece to everything in our bodies. They all talk to each other in some form, in some way. So being able to lift more in the gym will help in regulate that a little bit more. Also, going back to the protein, there's a theme here. Protein has a big impact for women going through that, as far as helping them navigate through the menopausal state. And then just getting away from also too much inflammatory foods. Like, for example, your refined simple carbohydrates, your sugar, stuff like that, that consistently inflames us, and that puts us back into that like hyper cortisol level. It's like adding more fire to that flame, where it's like we need to put the water. And so eating healthy by incorporating lots of vegetables and protein and healthy fats and exercise can bring that down for sure.
That's huge to know. Okay, well, I know we're wrapping up. How do people get a hold of you?
So you can Google me and anywhere on the web, Living Well with Kiki. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, on Google, so you can find me there and get on my website. If anybody has any questions, happy to connect. Because that's kind of what I'm here for, is just to help people understand their bodies, stay healthy, and know that how they eat can be the way of their living.
Yeah. Glad to hear it. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for having us, Sackway. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks.